Let's begin with inserted glosses or comments, since these are relatively easy to account for. Most ancient and medieval manuscripts of Latin texts contain some amount of explanatory material, much of it recorded in the margins or between the lines. To illustrate that point, I'm showing a page from an 11th century manuscript of Horace, now in the Houghton Library at Harvard, which has both marginal and interlinear notes. Those same places could also be used to record pieces of genuine text that had been accidentally omitted. And so a scribe could be legitimately uncertain whether to regard words in the margin or between the lines as a comment, not to be taken over, or as an omission, to be reinserted into the text. There is a beautiful example of this kind of interpolation in a letter of Seneca. I cite the text as it appears in the Oxford Classical Texts edition by Leighton Reynolds. First in English. In the case of many men, their cruelty, ambition, and indulgence only lack the favor of fortune to make them dare crimes that would match the worst. That their wishes are the same, understand C, you will learn. Give them power equal to their wishes. Multorum crudelitas et ambitio et luxuria ut paria pessimis audeat fortunae favore deficitur. Eadem velle subaudisi cognosces, da posse quantum volunt. The words subaudisi, subaudi an imperative, understand C, have no place in the syntax of the sentence. They are an instruction to supply C, if, as a way to clarify the relationship between the clauses eadem velle cognosces and da posse quantum volunt. That is, we are told to understand the sentence as though it read, you will learn that their wishes are the same if you grant them power equal to their wishes. The gloss is present in all older manuscripts. It does not appear in some late manuscripts, presumably because those scribes realized that it was not part of Seneca's text. This example, as I've presented it, also shows how most editors signal interpolation by enclosing the words in question in square brackets. Sometimes in English, to bracket is used as a shorthand way of saying to designate as an interpolation. So in this case, Reynolds brackets subaudisi. In the Latin terminology that is still the standard form of the critical apparatus, the corresponding verbs are delere and secludere, usually in the perfect tense. So in Latin one would say, subaudisi seclusit Reynolds, or delevit Reynolds. The transmitted text of Petronius contains a number of such explanatory interpolations, including at least one likely example that has not yet been noticed by editors. Petronius is describing how the extravagant nouveau riche Trimalchio is conveyed from the bath to his house. From there, wrapped in a scarlet dressing gown, he was placed in a litter, preceded by 4 running footmen in medallioned liveries, and a wheeled chair in which his boy favorite rode, a wizened youth, blear-eyed, and uglier even than his master Trimalchio. Hinc involutus coquina gausapa lecticae impositus est, praecedentibus faleratis cursoribus quatuor, et ciramaxio in quo deliciae eos vehebantur, puer vetulus lipus domino Trimalchione deformior. I suspect that the final words of the passage, domino Trimalchione deformior, contain a clarifying interpolation, namely Trimalchione. Trimalchio has been mentioned by name 3 times in the previous section, so by this point, there can be no ambiguity about who the grotesque boy's master might be. Furthermore, the proper name interrupts and dilutes the effect of the jingle domino deformior. Interpolations of this kind in poetic texts usually require at least some rewriting to fit the meter. Juvenal satires provide several instances of interpolations that began as clarifying summaries and were then added to the text in the form of hexameters. Here is one such from the 8th satire, where Juvenal is arguing that there is no necessary connection between high birth and moral excellence. As an example, he cites the Decii, a plebeian family whose members more than once sacrificed their lives to save Roman armies. The Decii were plebeian souls, and their names were plebeian. Yet on behalf of all the legions, all the allies, and the whole Latin youth, they made ample satisfaction to the gods of the underworld and earth, our mother. For the Decii are worth more than what was saved by them. Plebeae decior animae, plebeia fuerunt nomina, pro totis legionibus hi tamen, et pro omnibus auxiliis ad quam ne pube Latina sufficiunt dis infernis terraeque parenti, plures enem Decii, quam quae servantur abilis. The best comment on this passage was made by A.E. Hausmann in his preface to his edition of Juvenal. At 8:258, when Juvenal has said in 3 lines of vigorous rhetoric what he wants to say, there follows in the text what was meant for the margin, a curt, matter-of-fact comment or paraphrase. In the next section, I'll talk about interpolations that supply something the text appears to lack.